Today's podcast, we talk about everything prep being the start of the season. It makes a lot of sense too. So we talked about the start point for prep, what to do prior to it, able to put yourself in the best position. We talked about how to start a prep, whether it should be fast, whether it should be slow, based on the kind of circumstance that you're in, and refeeds, cheat meals, when to apply, what not to do, what mistakes to avoid, and then some Q&A at the end to finish. Yeah.
Today we are going to caveat that we're not trying to offend or upset anybody.
It's everybody off. Fuck you all.
Do it.
Fuck you.
Can you say that with eye contact?
What's that Eminem song? That fuck you. What's it? Just have that playing in the background. Fuck you.
Just don't even say it. Just literally just mouth it. Just constantly throughout the podcast, just staring at the camera.
I might just do it when you're speaking randomly. No one will get
Josh
it.
will be there in the background. Ready?
Oh, we've already started. That's the that's the intro to the podcast.
Whatever your name is. Yeah,
Just beep that, beep it, beep over the top of it. Yeah, let's. It was good until then.
Fucking hell. Welcome back to the CJM podcast. This is episode 5, and today we're going to cover prep, all things prep, with it being the start of the season. I think it makes a lot of sense to go through that.
defo.
So the first talking point, you'll probably hear a lot online, like in terms of how to start your prep, whether you go too aggressively or you kind of just go really slowly, and the different approaches there with prep, because again, there's a lot of differences in opinions there which need to be kind of treated on an individual basis more than anything. So I'll let Josh start with this one. So how would you prefer to start with clients, different scenarios?
So I've had a few conversations with a few people, friends and stuff that are in prep and stuff, because I get quite a lot of people like message me, go, "Oh, what do you think?" Opinions and stuff like this. And my approach for clients is I always want to be on the front foot rather than being on the back foot. So I would rather be moving a bit more aggressively straight out of the gate, because we know things are going to taper off. Body weight's going to start dropping down. The amount of calorie expenditure as a result of body weight dropping off is going to happen. So I'm always like, right, you've just come from the off season. Calories are probably going to be the highest they're at. Output's the lowest it's at. Right, whilst you're fresh, we can get a lot of work done in this period before fatigue starts creeping in. So I would rather go more aggressively straight out the bat from the start. Like, depending upon obviously where your calories are, depends on how much you're going to be dropping them from that side of things. Like, if I've got a guy on like 5,000 calories, well, I'm probably going to drop 1,000 calories straight off the bat. Do you know what I mean? Down to 4. If you've probably got a girl that's on 2,000 calories, you're probably going to drop anywhere up to maybe 500 calories off that from that side of things. I tend to move one metric at a time as well from that side of things. So in terms of how aggressive, I'm not going to throw all the tools, but I will bump step movement up a little bit from wherever they've been baseline, and then do the first push hard with the diet side of things to get ahead from that side of things. So typically that's how I would start something out as a prep, is like, whilst we're fresh, let's keep the momentum going where we're on the front foot, because then if we're ahead, well, that's the perfect thing for bodybuilding. It's like, we've got time to freshen you up, we've got time to pull back, because at the end of the day, it's not a dieting competition, it's not about who can get peeled the quickest and everything like this, but you want to not be stressing, not leave the stuff to the back end. So I would rather always go out on the front foot, like, let's get a lot of the work done now whilst you're still fresh before you feel the pinch of the back end, and then if you're ahead, we can then, we might have time for diet breaks, pull back on refeed or whatever from that side of things.
Jode?
So, like Josh, I think typically I would prefer to go a bit aggressive out of the gate, but that's more just to not fuck around with finding a deficit, because you don't want to be wasting time like, I'm just going to pull back a little bit here and increase a little bit here, and then figure out you're not actually in a deficit, and then you've wasted a week or two trying to figure that shit out.
That is something, definitely a point to be made right there, is figuring out the deficit, because like you said, it's like there's a big disparity between like the calories you needed to grow and then the calories where you're going to start finding that weight's going to be coming off. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably not going to be all of a sudden you just remove 500 calories from top wherever you're going to find that. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think, like, to be honest, that's something I learned from you, is that what sounds like a lot of calories, particularly if I'm talking bikini, because that's mainly what I coach to stage as bikini athletes or figure toned competitors, where they're carrying a little less muscle, is the amount of deficit that you probably need to, or the amount of calories that you need to create that deficit at the start is probably actually a lot bigger than you think it is. Like 300 calories might sound like a lot of calories on face value, but it's probably actually not enough to really get the ball rolling as much as you want to. And I'd rather be a little bit aggressive up front, even almost a little bit too aggressive up front, but know that we're getting traction than little bit, and then we get the ball rolling. So I think, like, straight off the bat, my preference is maybe to go a little bit hard with pulling back calories, a jump up in steps probably, and then see what happens and wait for that to kind of taper off before I then push on more changes. I will admit it depends hugely for me on the athlete, where their head is at, mindset towards things like food or fatigue. You know, if I've got a client that I think will push, I might be inclined to leave that until a little bit later so they stay fresher for a little bit longer and then push towards the end. But some people, either they can't hack that or their bodies just don't respond very well to that. So I guess I would say I probably don't have one set approach. It's more of an aggressive out the gate, see how the body responds, and then see what feedback I'm getting from the client in terms of how they're feeling, look at how their body is responding, and then decide, okay, am I going to need to push harder up front? Like you, I would prefer to push harder up front and be ready and then be able to maybe pull a little bit towards the end to land the look that you want. But I think that's one thing I'm learning about bikini as well, is particularly with the newer bikini athletes to the sport, is they're often carrying a lot more body fat than you think they are. And you can see the metrics coming down and you're like, oh, this is coming down at quite a decent rate. And then you start to get to like the midpoint and you're like, oh shit, yeah, there's more, a lot more to come. So I think that's the good part about maybe going a bit more aggressive up front, is that you're making sure that you're not getting to that oh shit point. Sort of midway down where it's like, okay, there's actually a lot more that needs to come off here than I thought there was, and then panic pushing that client, which is just going to end up with them looking over dieted, stringy, and not in a great place anyway. I know I've probably maybe not given a clear answer on my approach.
Well, there isn't. It is person dependent, but the general consensus is it's always better to get going quickly. Don't fuck about and then end up struggling at the back end and not being ready. Like for me, the most important thing as well is having that. It's what happens before prep that makes such a big difference, which is why a lot of clients, pretty much all of my clients that have been with me for a long enough time, they'll typically do like a maintenance phase pre-prep. So we know for sure, like, they're bang on maintenance for 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is. So we know objectively what we need to move to get them into a big enough deficit. Like, for example, you pull 500 calories, it's going to be about half a kilo drop a week. And you kind of know, if you've coached them before, how much is going to need to come off. Whereas if it's a new client that comes to you, you've not had that time in the off season with them, they just come into like a week before this prep starts, then you're going to be more aggressive. There's going to be a bigger calorie drop because they might be coming from peak off season calories. And if you're doing that as well, you might be in a 500-700 calorie surplus. So you need to pull at least 1,000 calories, you know, unless you're moving output up as well quite significantly to create that deficit to get things moving. And if you want to move at like a kilo a week, you've got to create like 1,000 calorie deficit a day. Which is a lot.
And people don't realise that as well.
It's a lot, 1,000 calories. Obviously, you might do 500 calories from food. You might do 500 calories from steps and cardio as well. But the last thing I want someone who's doing is coming from peak off-season calories straight into a deficit, because that's another reason people do go, oh, like, I've dropped all this food and nothing's moving. It's like, yeah, because you're not in a deficit yet. You don't realise how much food you've been eating. You've pulled 1,000 calories. You're not really changing your output much. So you're kind of just hovering around maintenance now. So body comp will improve, but yeah, you're not really shifting up. But I think that pre-prep kind of time period is so important, where you might even need to do like a pre-prep diet if you're carrying a lot of body fat, or certainly have a maintenance phase and then get things going quickly straight out the gate.
I think as well, like, where majority of most people sit as well is so you have your hard gainers that need loads of food and can get pretty shredded pretty quick on still a lot of amount of food. That's your one end of the spectrum. Then the other end of the spectrum is obviously not a lot of food to eat, but food has to go low. But I would say that majority of people sort of fit in a range as well. Like they probably find that to grow they have to push those calories up, but then you still have to get those calories to come back down to sort of a lower side. Like I don't ever see it consistently where, say for example, you get like a female's calories up to like, I don't know, 3,000 calories or what have you. They're still going to be into the 1700s and everything like that, but do you know what I mean? From that point onwards, do you know what I mean? So, and it's like, okay, you've built more muscle, built more time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's probably going to only allow like another couple of hundred calories up from where you were previous prep. It's not going to be now masses, even though you might.
Yeah, people are a bit disillusioned in the terms they think like, you know, a pound of muscle is going to make a massive difference to your metabolic rate, and it doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't.
It's like you're only going to be moving that needle very smallly, so it's like you might end up eating 100 calories more than last prep. Do you know what I mean? And you've been off season for 2 years, and you're like, fucking hell, I still have to come down. Do you know what I mean? Even though my calories went higher because we had more time in the off season to build those calories up, like it doesn't represent when it comes back that you just got to all of a sudden be like, oh wow, this is going to be easy now because I've got that higher than I ever have.
You're always going to be in a better place. Doesn't necessarily going to mean you're going to be eating 500 calories more a day.
Because like that body weight's coming off as well, so you're only going to be a couple of however many kilos heavier than where you were. So exactly.
I think that is the theory that people think, oh, if I'm eating more in off season, that's going to translate to me eating more on prep. And I'm sure she won't mind me mention this, but I think Sammy's probably a prime example of that for me, my figure toned athlete from last year, because we had the off season together after our first competitive season together, and her calories were a lot higher, but she was also carrying significantly more body fat when she started prep. And so we had to grind, and it was funny because literally her deficit point in terms of how much cardio, steps, food she had to on, nothing really was moving the way we wanted it to until we hit the same point as what we hit last time. And that was big asks, you know, like I had to have her doing over 20,000 steps a day, 70 minutes of cardio a day, less than 1,000 calories a day. And I don't really want to have to push any client to go there. But that was the point where her body was responsive. And it's okay, you can only build so much muscle, if any. I know we've covered this before, between competitive seasons. But if you don't set up the lead into prep right, and you have to push aggressively to pull the body fat off, you're probably eating into any muscle that you've developed anyway. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have to push as hard. So yeah, don't go thinking that just because you're eating more and doing less in your off season that means it's going to be light at work for you when you get to prep. But I was smiling when you were talking about like the setup for prep, because don't do what I do, kids.
Yes.
And because I mean, I'll put my hands up, and obviously I'm experienced enough that I'll take the hit. I'll take it on the chin when it comes. But one thing I can be quite bad at doing in the weeks leading into prep is overindulging a bit more than I normally would. Like, I'm normally really good in off season, like sticking to plan, I'm cool. But as soon as those weeks leading into prep come up, I'm like, fuck, I've got 4 weeks. And then I'm locked into prep until mid-November, so I need to eat.
Any of my clients do not fucking do this because it's my pet.
But I'm just saying, I'm saying I do it
for the next 5 months.
But I wouldn't recommend. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you're only making it harder for yourself. I know that by doing it, I'm making it harder for myself, because you're going to pull my calories back in the first week by like 600 a day or whatever it is, even more sometimes. But it's not 600, it's like 1,500 if I've been overindulging significantly in the weeks leading into it. And I'm the one that feels that pain. You're still going to do whatever you need to do to get me to where I need to be, and I need to follow that. But I also have to take the hit on the bit that I've been doing up front that I know I shouldn't have been doing. So don't get into that panic, oh my God, like I'm never going to see food again state, because it is only going to make the start of prep feel even harder than it already is. And food will always be there, kids. It'll be there when you finish prep.
As I say, not as I do.
We say that all the time, don't we? Food's always there, but it's such a weird thing. It's like you never think past the 24 hours of that day. You're like, oh my God, everything's over. Like this, and it's like it's only 5 months and I'm literally back to normality. Then it's just like, but it's like it seems like so far away. So it's like,
But no, don't do that. I mean, I know I shouldn't do it. This isn't me advertising it as something that you should do.
There's a spectrum. Like, she's not been that bad. Some people literally go,
and you'll start spiking hunger as well, won't you, off the back of that as well, with the influx of eating, and then you're going to go straight into your deficit and you go, oh, why is my ghrelin so fucking high?
And this is the thing, like when you do like a mini cut or a pre-prep diet or whatever it is, like it's all well and good, but then you've got to kind of come out of that really well. Otherwise, you've just wasted the fucking 8 weeks of dieting.
Yeah.
Because you're back to where you was in 3 weeks. So that's another thing that you want to make sure you're on top of if you do like diet pre-show or a mini cut through the off season, whatever it is.
You just got to ask yourself, and it's like if your coach is going to pull your calories back by 500-600 from the off, and you're eating a couple of hundred extra a day, which that can be done easily.
Oh, easy.
Do you know what I mean? Like a couple of hundred calories a
food.
day. Yeah, picking at food or a chocolate bar, because you're like, I'm not going to say no to myself because I'm going to be in prep for 20 weeks. It's like, okay, when your coach pulls your calories back by 500 or 600 a day at the start of your prep, it's not 500 or 600, it's 700 or 800. And it's like, that's a big, collectively, that's a big amount to be pulling back by. And I'll normally moan to you for the first couple of weeks, I'm really hungry, and part of that is self-inflicted. And
but the good thing is you actually told me. Like, a lot of people do that and don't say anything. So, like, when your coach is like, got you at a certain amount of calories and go, oh, well, you're in a surplus here, you're moving up at half a kilo a week, so naturally you're about a 500 calorie surplus in here. If you don't tell your coach you're doing that, your calories are coming down hard. Hard. So, you know, that has to be conveyed.
Everything else.
If you're doing, because otherwise your coach is looking at the numbers he's got on your plan and going, right, well, if I pull 500 calories, or I put her in a 500 calorie deficit from this point, this is going to happen. Then when you do it and you go, okay, that's not really moving the needle very much.
Well, that kind of touches on something that we commonly see in the industry around like the back end of prep, and people kind of announcing what calories their coaches have got them on. It's like, oh, I'm on like 700 calories a day.
No,
and it's
not,
kind of like, are you though?
You're not.
Because 9 times out of 10,
you ain't.
you probably, those extras that you probably haven't spoken about.
You probably do 300 calories from veg at that point.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The extra veg that you're going to be adding in
all
on
that
top.
sauces, the bit you might even be snacking on stuff, because most people do. They'll lick the spoon and the peanut butter and all that kind of stuff.
Or extra filling.
I'm like, if you're not losing weight at 700 calories a day, you would survive in Africa. Like, you've cured world hunger.
Yeah, you're absolutely sound.
Yeah.
My favourite one is the pour the cereal in the bowl and then eat whatever fell out of it.
Yeah, stuff like
it's not
that.
on the scales,
or
it
like,
doesn't count.
Even like kids, like your parents will pick up the leftovers. You know, all these little things, they add up. And, you know, you don't feel like you're satiating your hunger at all, but it's slowing your progress down massively.
No, because what it's doing is just spiking because nothing's filling you.
Yeah,
like,
you just...
That's why, like, as a coach, I'm never a big believer in snacks, really. Like when people are like, oh, I'd rather have this amount of meals and then some snacks in between, it's like, well, that ends up making you less adherent rather than just increasing the meal like go from 3 meals to 4 meals, pile all those snacks together and utilize it in one meal. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a very rare
food.
It's a rare person, but it's like you in the off season, you have a snack allowance, but you've already driven your food up.
Exactly. That comes in at the point where food's
that's just a little enjoyable thing on top of it. But it's like, if you really think, oh, that's going to help me throughout the day, it's like, it never helps you throughout the day. It just makes you hungrier. Do you know what I mean? From that side. Like, I'm always like, if I'm dieting, I'm sound until I start eating, and then I'm like, then I'm like hungry. I can go 3 days without eating, like not even bat an eyelid, like sometimes, and it's like, because I fast till like midday, 1 o'clock, pretty much every single day. So it doesn't bat an eyelid, but it's like as soon as I start eating, and then they're like, oh, I want to stop eating. So it's like all these little snack things. They just rev everything up a little bit more.
But that's why I hate, and I mean I hate, refeeds on prep. Like when you go refeed, I'm like, oh fucking hell, here we go. Because it's like, as soon as you get that taste for the thing, or a little bit more food volume, or the things that you haven't had, which you're excited about at the time, you're like, oh, I haven't had this for a while. Yeah. And I'm like, and then your body's like, oh, I quite liked that. It's like, oh God, like I'd just rather not have it.
Yeah, the dopamine's going crazy in the brain.
It definitely messes with your head. One, because obviously you're slowing things down, especially when you get into a cycle of prep. Because the grand scheme of things, if the refeed is coming in, now I will say as well on this point that I think too many coaches overuse refeeds, like as a constant reward for the fact you've lost weight this week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well done.
That's what prep is.
That's exactly what I wanted to happen. Like, oh, careful, we might get flat. Fuck me. No, you're still fat. Like,
yes,
let's just get this out in the rear now, because it's like, if you are especially on anabolics and a fucking man and you are taking over a gram of gear, your muscle ain't going nowhere. Like, nowhere. I have grown into preps numerous amount of times, more genetically gifted people grow into prep more times because you become more regimented. It's like, because I'm a bit more relaxed in the off season when it comes to prep, I end up growing into show because one, you've got the anabolics going in, you're adding additional like orals towards the back end and things like this, so fullness, your look, everything. It's like you don't lose muscle at all. So this constant like, oh, you've lost this weight, oh, here's a refeed. Like, where does this cycle like end?
The problem there is then it's like, well, you're driving someone down too hard to the point you have to refeed them. Just don't drive them down as hard.
Yeah.
Like, that's the solution there.
Yeah, because now you're gaining all this fatigue, gaining all this issues.
And then you have to offset it by the refeed. Yeah. And then you're like, your body weight's all over.
At the time, you're now not thinking about your client. Like, how's that mentally affecting your client? Do you know what I mean? Are they good, do you know what I mean, chewing and throwing? Because it's like, okay, if they're more of a seasoned competitor, fair enough, they'll handle it a lot better. But like, if they're a new person and you're burying them down to then refeed you, well, guess what? Something's going to happen towards the back end as well, more likely, do you know what I mean? Because they're expecting. And then when those refeeds stop as well, it's like causes another issue from that side of things. But it's like the actual need for a refeed, I would say that 90% of people that I'm seeing being given refeeds don't actually have a need for.
No.
Do you know what I mean? From this side of things, it's like, especially when the condition isn't there, I can't imagine fatigue is there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know, like, a friend of mine, like, she be given a refeed, but she's 7 weeks out and she still need work to be done from this side of things in terms of getting in condition. But it's then now frying her head a bit more because she's like, I know I've got more to do, but coach is telling me this and I want to do what the coach says. But then I'm like, now I'm the mental turmoil in my head, which is now causing stress. And we then obviously know how everything with prep is about stress management. And it's like how these coaches are handling it. And then, but like, how many times have we seen it? Like, we've had discussions over people that we've seen online and it's just like, what? They're getting another refeed, and then what happens 4 weeks later? Oh, coach is now burying them. Now we're on 2 hour cardios a day and everything like this, and it's just like, sorry, what?
It's like you've been slowing them down that much. Now you have to chase your tail now at the back.
Yeah,
it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Like making comments like, oh yeah, we tapered down cardio 4 weeks ago. We done this, and it's like, and then we got into show day, realised that we are so off the goddamn mark. And now coach is now burying me within 2 weeks till the next show. And it's like, that is not a position you want to be in any way, shape or form. And it's like, unless you're like, say, James Hollinshead. James Hollinshead is a prime example. When he gets into a position with dieting phase, his body runs away from him because of the sheer amount of muscle that he has and things like this. Nobody has that muscle in the amateur ranks. Very few people have that. Very few people have a body that will respond like that if it starts to run away from themselves. You just got to pile all the food in it to try and slow it down, stop it. Very, very, very few amateurs are like that. So
he's
it's
super
like,
lean when that's happening. He's not 20 weeks out.
No.
He's very lean when that's happening.
Yeah, because his metabolism is firing, everything that's going in is getting utilised, everything like that. So it's like, I feel like there's just this constant... I feel like it's a coaching method to sound like they're doing something. Do you know what I mean? Like pulling these strings and stuff like this, like making out that like they're earning their money that they're charging their clients, rather than being like,
you fucked up it.
Nah, sweet, everything's going sound. Like, why do I need to refeed you? Like, we've lost 1.5 kilos this week. Oh, sound, that'll probably slow down. Like, if you lose 2 kilos come next week, okay, maybe like we need to slow this down or something.
Just increase baseline calories.
But exactly that. Exactly. Just increase that baseline calories or lower the output a little bit, like that you've got them doing from that side of things.
I do find it interesting because this is coming from someone that, and when I tell people this, I find it baffling that people find this baffling. In the whole time that I've been competing, I have had one off-plan meal before show day. And it was a Nando's, and it was shit, because Josh told me what I was allowed to eat. Who even gives garlic bread? Like, that's just shit.
Garlic bread.
No, it was shit. Like, but anyway, but for me, I can't get my head around how common it is now that coaches are giving bikini athletes refeeds in the same way that they would a man, like burger and chips and
that's more
like
than your entire
like
calories
Five
for that
Guys. Do you know what I mean? It's, for me, I'm like, you don't have the amount of muscle that warrants you needing that kind of refeed. And like the really heavy carb ups that we see in peak week, it's like most bikini athletes don't have that level of muscle that they need. That means they need that, and then they end up sacrificing their midsection and their condition for what? A little bit of fullness, which has ultimately thrown the whole look off and softened it beyond what you can come back from. Like, you're better off just drip feeding that in. using the same sources as what the girls are already on, just a little bit more, test the water, see how it goes, do a little bit more the next day if you think it's warranted. But these big, heavy meals, that one meal is probably more than they've eaten in a day for about
Literally
4 months.
you're easily
Digestion is going to be messed
with
up.
the Five Guys, aren't you? At least.
Well, it's like we want predictability in prep. That's everyone's tracking every single thing they do, and then they go, I know, let's just throw some food in there that you've not ate for a while. It could cause, gastric distress. You could get a load of water retention because you can't manage the sodium that you've been eating. You've been tracking your sodium all prep, and then all of a sudden you just go and have that, and you don't know how much is in it. Yeah. It makes no sense, especially like you said in bikini girls. And if you're that type of person that needs a lot of food, because there are them girls that do need that for sure. I've got a few, but for the most part, there's not many girls that
100 carb goes a long way on a bikini.
For most of them, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's 400 calories in the grand scheme of things.
And then if you pull in down output as well in combination with that, but you want predictability, and I think doing stuff like that, you ain't going to get any predictability at all.
One thing that people ask me about, and I'd be interested to get your guys' views on it, is carb loading versus fat loading.
I don't fat load.
I don't believe in fat loading at all. We obviously did it in our first sort of season together, because obviously it was sort of in the realm of the world, wasn't it? I think obviously Joe Jeff sort of spurred it into the industry, and initially I was like, oh yeah, okay, this sounds great, this makes sense. That's great until you get a guy that needs to eat 3,500 calories, and you need to then, if you're doing protein and fat, and it's like Ben, for example. Ben was 3,700 calories up until peak week from that side of things. Oh, how the fuck am I getting that amount of fat into him without just completely smashing his digestive tract to pieces from this side of things, slowing things down? Like, I know Nath, when he was with Joe Jeff, because of the amount of food, he was throwing up, on his fat loads, because it was just like this, and it's just like, for what at this point, do you know what I mean, now? And it's like, okay, have a bit more fat and a little bit less carbs, but it's like, trying to make all of those calories up from pro-fat. And then what I'm also seeing as well is then you then flatten off way too much, which then means that those carb loads become way too ridiculous from that side of things, which then also then means that you've got to then deal with that digestively. Then, especially for example, men's physique athletes or bikini girls, do you know what I mean, where your midsection is everything, do you know what I mean, from that side of things. You want it razor and everything it's like, I think prime example is with those loads, it's like freshwater. When he did a linear one, when he went into getting his pro card, rather than doing 2 days of higher, he just bumped food linearly across the week. His midsection was razor boom, won his pro card, everything like that. But every time he tried to do 2 hard days of loading, because they deplete him down so much, then fat loaded him, washed even more glycogen out of him. Well, he can't shift the water, and I can't shift enough of the digestion issues or anything like this. And it's like, so that when it comes to protein fats, I'm like,
again, less predictability.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? From this side of things, I'm a big believer in more fats. I'm a big believer in, especially carb loading. That what I tend to typically give my girls and guys is 10 gram of fat per 100 gram of carb when I'm loading them from that side of things, because I see better results holding a bit more fat from things. But then if you're going to have to get all your calories in from fat, it's just like, oh God, this is going to start being a problem now.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm not a believer in it, because I just think we just make the end bit more extreme because we've depleted down more than we need to. So we should already be pretty depleted by that point, do you know what I mean, in the grand scheme of things. So even if you just remove a little bit more carbs in the sense that just to drop down, but you don't want to deplete so far down from that side of things.
I mean, I've done it when I was working with Joe. We fat loading it. It works a treat for me. I mean, I've got a type of, again, it depends on the person as well. I've got a physique that I hold fullness really, really easily, so I don't go flat very often at all. It's
same for me in the grand scheme.
So fat loading worked fine for me. Worked a treat. But I don't usually use it with clients. Again, I'm just looking for predictability and.
We've done something like that with me.
Yeah.
But digestively, carbs don't sit. Yeah, even on show day, I'm eating 20 grams of dark chocolate every couple of hours until maybe just before I'm about to go on
again, you hold fullness really well, so you can get away with that.
So, I mean, I'll never, ever go without any macro in the mix. So, for me, with my girls, I will tend to maybe favour a couple of 2 or 3 higher carb days. I don't go hard with the high carbs, but higher carb days maybe towards the start of peak week. And then depending on how that goes, I might then switch that dynamic to higher fats, but there will always be carbs in the higher fat days and fats in the higher carb days. I might just switch them around to help with drying off the look or adding in the fullness as I think it's needed. But like I say, with bikini, which is the majority of the clients that I prep, don't need like massive extremes with that, because the level of muscle that you have, it's not chucking a load of carbs in isn't gonna dramatically change the physique.
No, I can't say, like, obviously my experience with bikini girls, I've always been more a case of drip feeding across the week from that side of things. My figure girls that take a bit more food and thing, then I'll fill them a little bit hard, do like more of a couple of days filling from that side of things. But especially bikini, especially men's physique, I'd rather like, right, let's just top up, because we're just holding a look in the grand scheme of things for a peak week. Like, I think like same as peak week is all about, it's about just keeping things consistent and just washing off fatigue and just allowing the look to get better. So like you say, predictability on the pro fat, it's like, well, we haven't done that, so like we don't know how that's going to work out. The last thing I do is want to cause a load of digestive issues or whatever, or flatten the look off massively, that I'm now like, oh shit, now we need to be really like, because it's grand scheme of things, you're basing your carb load off where you've sort of currently been at now, and then having a gauge of where you're going to bump up on top from that side of things. So it's like when you deplete down with all these pro fat days, well, now you've just skewed your metric on what your carbs are going to be from that side of things, because now you were on, say for example, like 300 gram of carb leading into whatever. Okay, well maybe we need to go 800 to 1,000. It's like, well, now I've just given you things, so you're completely depleted down, so we're probably going to need even more then from that side of things. So it's just, then you're trying to judge it from that point where it's like you say, just how can you make it as easy and as stress-free as possible, because prep is stress management, isn't it? So it's like,
well, Ian's peak week this week, for example, with calories getting moved up to baseline, maintenance at the start of the week, 2 high days, and then the day before the show we'd have a lower carb day and a little bit higher fat, but nothing drastic in terms of the shift in macros there, and that worked really well. Obviously, we got him fully saturated then the day before. You want to hold that fullness, obviously activity is low, so you don't need the same amount of calories, and then you just dry off really nicely.
Do you think people overhype fullness? I don't have an opinion, I'm just asking that question.
In what context?
It seems to be that when it comes to peaking, people are like really hyper focused on the carb up and bringing that fullness, often at the compromise of the sharpness. So I just wonder, because I think like, maybe if I think back to when I first started this, it was condition. Yeah. There seems to have been a shift in recent times where it's like, oh my God, like I need to be as full as a house.
Well, this is the thing. It's the balance of both. Like, you want the best of both. Like, with Joe Ballinger won his pro card this weekend, like, he had the best balance of both of everyone. But you need that sharpness. Like, once that goes, like, and especially in bodybuilding, I think, like, you're losing your edge there, because that condition can make you stand out. Obviously, you need to be full as well. So it's finding the balance of both.
I think it's also the interpretation of what's fullness and what's more muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, this is another thing. Like, a lot of girls will go, oh, my glutes are flat. I'm like, yeah, they're just not big enough. Yeah,
they should.
They're not big enough. You can only fill what's there.
Yeah, where we need to be. Well, if we try and fill your glutes massively, now we're going to.
Now your midsection's filled over.
Yeah.
You don't warrant that amount because there's not muscle there to fill.
Well, that's a common bit of feedback that normally causes people a load of confusion, where they're like, oh, the feedback I got from the judges was that I needed more condition from the back. And it's like, you don't need more condition from the back. You just need more muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to press against that.
There needs to be something there to show, yeah.
Like wellness, well, she's not with Nathan anymore. But it's like, she needs more condition from the back, but she needs more glutes and hamstrings. Like, as soon as she's got more glutes and hamstrings, she don't need to be any more peeled than what she's putting on stage. She just needs more of there, because it's like the quads and everything are sound, midsection's absolutely sound, where it's like, well, the glute ham tie-in just needs a bit more 3D depth to it.
The common
and it's
thing
like, it's not the condition, it's you just need more there.
is girls go, I want that glute ham tie-in, and the common thing that girls lack is muscle in the glutes. Like, it's not just a condition issue, it is a size issue.
You can only get as ripped as what the
right.
muscle you have there, isn't it, essentially? Do you know what I mean?
You need the muscle there to show the condition off. And that's something like I said last time, going through that kind of ugly phase in your off season. Like, you only look a certain way when you've got enough muscle, and you look a lot leaner all year round because you've got a lot of muscle.
Yeah, it's the same as with lifestyle clients. When you try to explain to them that you're not going to have that toned look by just focusing purely on fat loss for the rest of your days, because pulling back the body fat isn't going to reveal a look that isn't there. That's where you just end up looking ill because you're trying to peel back, because a toned look is muscle and the skin sitting around that. But if there's no muscle for the skin to sit around, then you're just going to look ill.
And I think every first-time competitor has a shock reality of that, what the size they think they have and what the size they truly have. And I think, obviously, like you say, with females, it's more distorted, because obviously those stubborn areas being the glute ham tie-in, but that's the look that that's the area that everyone wants in. And then they go, shit, like you say, when you were talking about working out the deficit, you go, oh, fucking hell, there's still more to come off. There's how are we dropping a kilo a week coming off the backs of these legs here? And you're like, oh shit, there is actually, when you actually think about it and you actually sit down and you think and you squeeze the back, you're like, oh shit, there is actually a large amount of like tissue around that area that you don't see. You're not looking at it in the mirror. You can't really think, so you don't really have a gained understanding of what truly is there. Do you know what I mean?
Like 2019 was an eye opener when I got right down. I was 165 pounds on stage. Like, I was fucking inside out, but I was like, okay, this is how much muscle I've got.
Yeah,
it's not I'm flat. I'm not flat.
This is
I'm
what I've
fucking
got.
Peeled, but I'm too small.
Yeah,
and that's the issue a lot of people face when they get truly peeled.
Yeah,
and I think, again, with bodybuilders specifically, a lot of them don't like getting that lean because they feel small. There's a psychological aspect to this. They won't push that hard because they don't like how they feel. They don't like how it looks.
Because they're constantly comparing. Talking about fullness and things like this, they're constantly comparing that what their fullness was in prep. In off season. It's like you're never gonna be like that. It's just like, oh yeah, I feel flat. No, you've just lost body fat. You're not flat. You've just got smaller. Yeah. Like your arms don't press against your t-shirt because they're leaner now, and it's like, but you actually look better. You actually look bigger. You've got more illusion of looking bigger. So us big bodybuilders they're constantly like, I feel flat. You can't fucking feel flat. You can only look flat. Do you know what I mean? At the same time, and it's like, but also, what are you comparing your look flat to? What, when you were full compared to off season? Because I 100% know that's in the back of your head. Do you know what I mean? From that side of things, that's your metric, because you don't have a metric now, because we're going through prep, and every prep's new, isn't it? So you can't even compare it to last time's prep, because now you've got more muscle and this like this. So it's like, well, no. Is it actually an issue? No. Okay. Is your training performance really suffering? No. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything is just like, so are we just dropping body fat and everything else? Okay, yeah. Just because you want to be bursting full every time. It's like, I even had like one of my lifestyle clients, Gina, she's going for a photo shoot prep at the moment. She goes, I just don't feel like I look strong at the moment. I'm like, yeah, sweet. You're not meant to do. We're halfway through the fucking photo shoot prep. You should be flat. You should be, do you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be looking anywhere near how you should be wanting to look. Do you know what I mean? That's not the whole point of it. Like, so it's
this is where you've got to differentiate, like bodybuilding and any competitor, whatever category, you're solely focusing on being ready to peak on that day. You don't give a shit how you look all the way through prep. If you want to look good all year round, get to a certain level of body fat and state maintenance.
Yeah, find where that is, and then reverse your cows and stay.
That's not bodybuilding.
No,
bodybuilding is extremes both ways. You're going to feel uncomfortably big in the off season for the most part, relative to where you normally sit, and then in a prep, you're going to feel stringy, small, a bit flat. Like, that's how you get that lean. If you don't feel like that, you're not getting that lean. Yeah. And it will usually be the people that are not willing to prepare to run a bit flat or feel like that don't get truly inside out peeled.
Yeah.
It's like talking about the refeeds, isn't it? It's just it's just like, if you're constantly topping up that thing, and it's like, oh, okay, well, you're going to be hungry. Do you know what I mean? Let's get comfortable with being hungry. Let's get comfortable with finding this, so we can just be nice and steady into show, keep everything consistent, and you're just going to be there. But you mentioned about Joe Ballinger on the weekend. Should we talk about
Yeah, the show results. So Saturday was the then Weeder. Joe won the pro card, and I didn't actually see him on stage, but I was at the show. Everyone come out and was literally like, Joe's going to win that. Smoked it. He apparently was just like peaked to perfection.
Yeah.
You know, like peeled, full.
That's the one thing with Joe is I've known Joe for ages because we were both from the same town, city, or whatever you want to call it, Gloucester, Cheltenham. And that's one thing that Joe has never missed on is condition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? From that side of things.
That's where it pays off.
He comes in hard as nails. So obviously he took the result on the weekend. And now I love Joe and everything, but I am surprised that he did win from that side of things because, as we talk about as well on this podcast, it's not a dieting competition, it's this. So I'm structuring things like this. So it's like, obviously I wasn't there, so I can only go off photos, which obviously then interfere with things. But I didn't think that, obviously my favourite or my choice was going to be Ben. Mm-hmm. I only say Ben Diesel because I never remember how to pronounce his last name.
I can't pronounce your last name.
Yeah. And to me, he was sharper again than what he was at the regional 2 weeks prior from that side of things. And I think his condition was was good enough to then say that his muscularity, his shape and everything, I would then have awarded, obviously, like I say, not there, but I would have awarded him because for bodybuilding me, it's the complete package. And we know with Joe's physique that there's areas that he does lack on from that side of things, and it's not the typical bodybuilder sort of flow and shape and things like this. And I mean, fair play to him, he has grafted his nut off for the 10 years and he's finally ticked off something that he's been working his nut off for. And so like that's something to admire massively. And then, like, for everyone coming up in bodybuilding, like that does obviously, that work rate does.
Yeah, I mean,
goes a long way.
He was third 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
to win his pro card. So like to turn it around in that time frame is huge. Like I said, everyone just come out and was like, yeah, he smoked it. He looked mint.
Yeah.
And that's what, when you're truly peeled and you peak perfectly, like you just look different. So if someone even with better shape and structure is a bit off, there you go, you lose it. You know.
Then obviously he then went and he beat Ben and Josh. Which are both look really, really
great
good.
bodybuilders, yeah.
Great
And
and
Billy
and young
overall.
as well, John,
Yeah.
that sort of things. And then Billy, but from what I've seen in the overall, I personally would have given it to Billy. Maybe I'm a little bit more biased because obviously he's more of a friend of mine in a sense, but from a bodybuilding complete look and stuff like this, Billy was probably my fave, and from a few people I've spoken with, that were there, they sort of agreed with that. But I think where Billy sort of let himself down was some of his posing, like made himself look quite small on like his back shots, his front double and things like this, where we know that Billy's got really beautiful lats on his, when he hits everything. He's got really round delts. He's a very round, bubbly bodybuilder. So I think like that's probably where those, especially at a pro qualifier, those fine margins, standing next to Joe, who is obviously a super heavyweight. He has got loads of muscle. There ain't no. Yeah. Joe is dense.
It's very hard to be
very
a true super.
Yeah.
That comes in like on point. Yeah, like they're so like dominating, like the physique's so dominating. It's because Joe's a lot bigger than Billy.
Joe's like 6 foot.
Yeah, and he's massive. So
he's just a big
when you
dude.
dwarf someone that much and it's a bodybuilding shot, and
yeah,
like you can see why they went that way.
But I mean, I'm not going to comment too much because I haven't, if I'm honest, seen enough of the bodybuilding class.
Cool.
I mean, I know both Billy and Joe, but I haven't seen it to be able to comment on it. But I think this is probably going to be a running theme throughout the commentary on the Two Bros show is people severely overlook judges' preference, because we know with Two Bros pro qualifiers, or just IFBB, NPC pro qualifiers in general, whoever is head judge on that day can have a massive impact on how the results go and just what their personal preference or interpretation of the category criteria is. So we know that Maz was judging that show, and it might just be that he prefers a fuller, more
conditioned.
Look, that might just be what he would lean towards. And I guess it maybe doesn't mean that neither were unworthy, but it was Maz's preference on that day as to which way
the head judge
went.
makes a massive difference. I mean, from the regional 2 weeks before, the
everything switched.
Yeah, like Laurie won the overall 2 weeks ago. She got second to the girl she beat this time.
Yeah.
And Laurie was arguably a lot better this time as well. We know, like, she's been in front of Maz a few times now, and it's different feedback every time.
Yeah. That's the I feel like that's the one thing with two bro shows is the consistency of obviously
You've got to get in front of the judges that
you
like
like
physique. You've
you
got to do
have to know the judges, like with the two
What they
bros
like,
more so
preferences.
than anything else.
Yeah.
You have to know what the judges like and things like this, because like you say, we conditioned, but then it was like then the biggest shock for me out of the whole show of the weekend was the wellness, when he's seeing like two figure girls getting put into wellness to make up the numbers, and then one of the figure girls actually beating the true wellness competitor of Jodie. So like, hats off to you, Jodie. I think you've been absolutely hard done there from that side of things, because she had shape, she had condition, she had the glute ham tie and stuff like this, and then Sian, who won, wasn't in shape for figure, but she then won in wellness from that side of things, and it's like, what are we trying to say here? Like, what sort of feedback is that given to people? It's like, where it's like, you're saying the bodybuilding's conditioned, but then now we're in wellness, and you've given it to the softest person on stage from that side of things, just from a size perspective, and it's like, now I don't know. It's different categories, different things, different looks, changes. So like, you have to even base it very much on like,
you have to just go off
what that head judge likes per category,
of course you do,
rather than be like, you can't even say like Maz likes condition, do you know what I mean, wants to see condition, because then it's like it chops and changes to each category from that side of things as well. But that was the biggest sort of shocker for me from that side of things, was just seeing like
The girl with the pro card was very good. The Chinese girl.
I didn't see.
She was mint.
That was one of Naif's old clients apparently.
Yeah, she was really good. She was very good.
The problem is these two bros is the lack of fucking coverage as well. Do you know what I mean? Like actually posting shots.
Yeah,
and
but
it's
they need to
like-
do better with
like-
that, because that's something that everybody wants to see.
It's so bad. It's just like
Martin's classic guy was really, really good.
The French dude.
Rory was class as well. Both of those like could have got a pro card there. That was
mate,
good.
Rory, real good physique.
Yeah,
man.
they were both mint. Martin's guy was good, and then Gerald obviously winning physique.
Yeah.
Sick. Like that's just been a long time coming, really.
Yeah.
Those brothers are
He's
just
mega.
both of them. Him and his brother.
Who else was there? One, and then the bikini pro card winner.
And the figure pro card winner as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where was the girl from?
The Ebba-
bikini?
Ebba-
Ebba. She was stacked and peeled.
she was class.
Yeah, she's very good.
But I question whether she was actually able to win that pro card, because I have not seen her do a regional. I've not seen things, so
Oh dear.
that's a question.
Drop in a minute.
Hey, we've all got to play by the rules.
But yeah, bikini.
Yeah, see the girl that won that. She, like I said on my stories today, she was one of the smaller girls. In terms of muscularity and even like condition wise, she wasn't kind of where what you'd expect. I mean, she had a nice look. Like her backshot particularly was really good. She had a really great side profile in terms of like the glutes. But yeah, there was a few girls there that I thought could have potentially won that.
I think for me, like I personally don't have that much of an issue with it, where I'm like, okay, like this judge likes softer, smaller girls, this judge likes, it just is what it is. Preference is preference. I think where I struggle is where what's being rewarded in the amateurs in the same show is so vastly different to what's being rewarded in the pro show, because I think there were probably, and this isn't to take away from the girl that won, like she had a really nice physique, but I think there were probably other amateurs at that show that day that were a closer fit to probably the top 5 in the pro show, which would have then meant that obviously if one of them had been picked, they may have been more comparable and competitive in that. And I think that maybe that's essentially what's confusing, because we know that a lot of amateurs look towards the pros as where they should.
Well, yeah, because that's what you look.
That's the gold
Yeah.
standard.
That's meant to be that person matches the criteria the best. So that's the gold
Yeah.
standard.
But
Then
if-
everything goes off the back of that. doesn't it?
But if then what's being rewarded in the amateurs doesn't matter, and like I say, like from show to show, I get it because different judges have different preferences. But if at the same show it's not aligned with the same head judge, it's kind of difficult then for people to know what it is that's
Yeah.
being looked for. And I think maybe that's where there's some disgruntled people that come out, because it's like there is no consistency.
Yeah, there's
there.
quite a wide variety.
And I definitely think that is more of a two bros thing, is the consistency more. So.
Well, I think if we compare to PCA, the judging panel's the same
So it helps.
at the
massively.
show, or at least largely
Yeah,
the same,
yeah.
with a few rotations in and out.
100%.
So that's where you get the consistency with the judging, because the judges are effectively the same.
But also at the same time as well, like the IFBB judges go through more of a stringent to get to that position of becoming an IFBB judge as well. So you would have thought there'd be a lot more communication between the judges, but I think obviously then once they get into that position, they're then left with a bit more sort of.
Yeah, well, I'd take Demanti last season. So she went to a show. Her feedback was, your delts are too big. Then she went to get judged in front of Tyler. She won her class, and Tyler was like, "No, your delt's fine. You should bring your glutes up a little bit more."
And it's like, well, that's Tyler.
That's Tyler saying that.
Do you know what I mean? So he's meant to be the top boy saying that.
Exactly. So you're like,
But then is it lineups? Because it's like,
well, another thing, like instead of saying your delts too big, that judge probably should have said your glutes need to come up to match your delts. Your delts are fine, but bring your glutes, and that's what Tyler said.
yeah.
So it's how they word it as well. I think it matters a lot. Whereas some might say, "Oh, you need a little bit more glute," and really, it's like, well, the girl that beat you had a waist that big. So structurally, she was a lot stronger. So it made her glutes look a lot bigger,
way bigger,
etc., etc.
but I do think that's quite common in judges' feedback, that the judges know what they're looking for. Like, and I will maintain that. I'm never going to sit here and say otherwise.
It's the job.
The judges know what they're looking for, but they don't necessarily always know what it is that's lacking, making that bit lack. So, like I said earlier, they might say, "Oh, you need more condition from the rear," and it's because they're looking at the physique and they want more pop from the glute. And the instant translation for some people will be they're not sharp enough from the back. But with a different eye, they would say, "Oh, it's not condition, she's peeled, it's muscle." So it's the interpretation of the physique.
I think it's also confidence with the judge, because like Tyler Mannion's going to be the first person to say, "Well, no, that it's that." Do you know what I mean? Whereas I think the cop out is they go, "Oh, it just needs to be a bit like better from the back, bit sharper from the back," and that sharper from the back can be interpreted as you need more muscle from the back, or you need push condition from the back. Whereas like a judge that's confident will say, "Now you should." And the grand scheme of things, these judges should know how to communicate with these things as well from that side of things, because that is their job. Do you know what I mean? Once you go in front of enough girls and enough guys, you should be able to communicate that feedback back correctly. Do you know what I mean? Not just saying that.
And some are very good at that.
Yeah.
Like some are very good at that. Like I said, Tyler, for example, you're always going to get straight up feedback. But again, like Laurie last season, she got in front of Tyler. She won a class. The feedback was coming a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
Okay. She literally said just more condition.
Yeah.
Got in front of other judge, too much condition.
Yeah.
I'm like, so there's something. Is it like?
And that's where the frustration comes in as a coach. It's like,
well, in my opinion, you've just got to obviously take it on board, but just come in with a look that you are confident with, that you think, right, this is the look, this is what looks best on you.
I always say that, like, particularly with NPC, IFBB, where I'm like, do you know what? Unless you're planning on getting in front of the same judge every show, where then you should take on board their feedback because it will be relevant. 9 times out of 10, unless you're chasing that judge, you're not gonna be in front of the same judge all the time. So there's no point in taking on feedback from this judge that isn't going to apply to this judge because they're going to have a different opinion. So what you really want to do is decide between you and your coach what is the best look for you, that you like on you, that fits the category criteria as closely as possible, because then at least that way, if you get up on stage and it doesn't land with that judge how you want, you at least look at the pictures and go, do you know what, I liked what I looked like, rather than looking back and being like, well, I didn't want to present that look anyway, and it didn't even get rewarded.
I think that comes more heavily as well into things like bikini as well, doesn't it? From that side of things, like, because there's a lot more interpretation on a look in a sense. Do you know what I mean? From that side of things, whereas like bodybuilding, it's like you come in as lean and as big as lean as possible in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, bikini's a tough one for that.
Yeah,
bodybuilding's a bit easier to nail. Like
way easier to nail. Like, I think it's one of the it's the hardest category to nail it.
Yeah, I
like,
think so.
Like,
in my experience, prepping different people, like that's definitely the most challenging one.
We obviously had the PCA as well. You had obviously Ian Wynn.
We've had a few shows, haven't we?
Yeah, but we had Ian that won the overall at FitX as well for that weekend of the regional, and then this weekend just gone. Obviously, we had the Ben Weeder. We had Laurie who got second, Brooke who got fifth. She looked a lot better as well from the regional, which was dead happy with. Then she went on to do the Northwest on Sunday and got second there, missing out on 1 point to the overall winner, which was class. And then obviously Ian won his Masters category as well. He looked even better as well.
Really good, man.
Yeah, Ian's obviously like I mean, all the clients I've had on so far, they're just easy to work with. They just get everything done that needs to be done.
I had obviously Ben the other weekend as well at Saxon. I just realised because
so Ben won the overall and at the regional, and then the Saxon as well.
No, my Ben.
Oh shit! Yeah.
in classic bodybuilding tool
He's done some good.
at Saxon. Yeah, it was about 9 kilos up on stage weight, which, do you know what I mean, is buzzing with that.
Yeah, it's
and
massive.
sort of things. And I think
Massive.
obviously condition was
He
he
looked
was
really
the
good.
most conditioned, I think, on stage as well.
And what was the time frame on that? When did he last compete?
Like less than 2 years.
Yeah, so it's
Less than 2 years. I think about 18 months. I think by the time, because I think
20
he was
pounds?
like mid-year last time he stepped on stage, so about sort of a couple of months prior to that.
and £20 on. That's good.
Yeah. So and
But obviously, I caught you guys after he got off stage, and
Yeah.
because I was there, I watched it, and like, I don't think there would have been much in it.
No, yeah,
I
it was
think
close,
just
that.
presenting.
Did they say it was 1 point as
it
well?
was. They said it was 1 point basically, and I think by what I understood, it was a split decision, and then it basically went to Warren, who was making the decision for that category or something like that, and essentially that's what the 1 point was.
Right, so it was closer. Yeah.
So it was like literally could have gone either way. The other dude looked a little bit more classic in his posing and what have you from that side of things, and a little bit more softer golden era type sort of Arnold look in a sense. But like to come from, I think, third to then nearly just missing out on winning it was massive.
Yeah.
Ben was absolutely buzzing with the improvements, and then I know now that I'm going to push him for more fullness to just soften up that look and really push him as big as he can get from that side of things, because I know that we can sacrifice a little bit. Like, he'll still be just as sharp in the grand scheme of things, but when he stepped on check-in the following Monday and he was a kilo up from the day before, he looked just as tight and everything, because he was doing a photo shoot that Monday anyway, so everything was controlled and what have you. But I was like, we can definitely push a little bit more, and then compared to that guy from that side of things. But then, like, you know, as well, when you go to the universe and you get in front of some more judges and everything's a bit thing, that could flip back into his favour, do you know what I mean, from that side of things.
Like I say, when it comes to PCA, classic in particular, because there is no weight cap.
No.
I think shape and presentation come into play a hell of a lot more, because you do get small bodybuilders entering classic because they don't feel like they're big enough to compete. But I think that's what will separate the winners from the people that do well. Is, are they moving like a classic competitor? Are they posing like a classic competitor? Or do they just look like a small bodybuilder? And I think that there's a bit of
Elliot does so well in PCA, because Elliot's probably not. He's got a nice physique, but for me, he's not. I don't look at him and go, "Oh, well, that's amazing." Like, he looks great and everything, but then when I stand him next to him, he's the most classical on stage without a shadow of a doubt. Way he flows, way he poses, way he presents himself. He is. So I think, like,
when you're judging it, you can't ignore it.
No,
Like, I've seen smaller guys win in classic, and I've judged it and done it myself, where someone has got up there and they move, or they, even in their comparisons, they're moving like and you're like, just distracted by this person. You're like, wow, like, you can't deny that is classic.
Yeah.
And if you're distracting the judges to look at you, they're not looking at other people if they're looking at you. And if you're giving them that classic flair, you're screaming everything the category is meant to be. So,
and I think PCA that carries a little bit more weight than like Two Bros, for example, because I think Two Bros is fill the cap, have as best taper as you can have from that side of things, and then be as shredded as big as you can from that side of things. Like, most of the enters on a Two Bros stage doesn't know how to remotely move classically or anything.
Joe's a very good poser as well.
Yeah.
The way he can pose. And like, he's good stamina and, like, with his posing as well.
Yeah.
So it makes people stand out. But yeah, especially in like bikini wellness, like that goes a long way. If you're like captivating everyone with how you move and you pose.
Mia, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like that.
How wild the whole world went. Like, Wellness Observer Live and every judge's feedback, every commentator on YouTube, everything like this, where they were just like, this girl moves with such sass and such energy, and it's like,
yeah, like when we got the judges' feedback, there was all like, that was one of the big feedbacks. Like you got everybody's attention with that. So it does carry so much weight, which is why it's so important to nail your posing.
That's one thing as well. Feedback for everyone about to step on stage. That when I watched the Saxon with you, that was one of the big feedbacks, is how subpar the posing was for quite a lot of athletes stepping on stage, and it's just like, as a coach, obviously I drill it into my clients plenty enough times from that side of things, because I'm a perfectionist in that sense. I don't want them, do you know what I mean, presenting, because there's no point grafting your nut off, getting all peeled, and then you can't remotely open your back lat spread, or you can't get into your front double properly, or you're not crunching down, or you're not sitting on your legs. Your legs are peeled, but you keep switching off your legs.
Yeah, that's a petty
like
that.
And it's just like, so it's like those key areas will move you out of positions, do you know what I mean, from this side of things. It was like the classic, do you remember the classic short dude of that Saxon dude, the one that was completely peeled, Lee something or other, I think you remember.
I don't think I saw classic short.
He was peeled, but he could not open his lat spread for love nor money, but luckily he was from the front, do you know what I mean, that he'd won the show from the front with his condition. But if it was a little bit closer and he was having to be compared from the back and he couldn't even remotely get into his lat spread or anything like this, it's like, well, that might hurt you when you get to the universe, when you go for the pro qualifier. And it's like, I can't drill it to people more, is just practice your posing so much and start earlier, because it's like, it is showing on stage, do you know what I mean, from this side of things, and it's just like...
But it's not even the technicality of the posing, it's your stage presence that people just totally miss the mark on. And I always say it to my posing clients, it's like, okay, fair enough, in a regional, you might be up there with 3 other people, 4 other people. So if you pose technically well and your physique is good, you're going to stand out. Take it to a universe, British or worlds, where you might have 15 plus of you. How are you going to stand out then if everybody else is posing technically well? You know, because then it's personality, then it's confidence, then it's you're showing something that nobody else on stage is showing. Because otherwise it is just like for like, cookie cutter. You're hoping that you're going to stand out in a lineup of people that just look exactly the same as you. So what's your character? How are you presenting yourself? Well, I've always and I believe this, like, a big part of my stage presentation is just that. It's my personality that I present on stage. Because I'm like, I haven't prepped for 20 plus weeks to get up there and have you look at this girl next to me. I want you to look at me, so I'm going to carry look at me energy. And I think there's a lot of people up there that don't command that kind of energy. They're up there almost like, look at me if you have to. As speaking from having judged people, that nervous energy makes you not want to look at people. You feel like you're intruding on their privacy, and then if they're not looking at you, they're looking at the person that is inviting them to look. I always like
that quiet confidence, like, you know, where they're just so smooth and they know they look good, and like, that's what we want to see.
Just get into the pose and hit it with confidence.
Yeah, and it's not too like flashy. It's
and I know, like, nice, posing's meant to look effortless, but some people look like they're putting no effort.
Yeah, there's a difference there. There's a difference. Yeah,
I understand where, like, when you're peeled, do you know what I mean, you don't have to overly put too much effort in to make things pop, but there's a lot of people that are like shredded on stage, and I'm like, but
you're not getting ready for bed. Come
on. Come on, like,
look effortless, don't be.
I don't want you panting through your stomach and like squeezing everything, and your face going red and everything. But like, could you actually look like you're actually trying to pop your muscles a little bit and just give a little bit more energy to
even
that
just like things. Smiling and looking like you're enjoying it, like that.
It goes a long way.
It does.
Don't be manic though.
No.
Wallace and Gromit.
And don't stare at the judges for like
Please
over
don't
20
do that.
seconds.
Oh my gosh. No.
Unless it's Ryan and Ryan's looking back at you, staring into his eyes. Now you're winning. Now you're winning.
Take pictures of me.
Oh my gosh, no, don't do it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I stare, but it's because I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, and then I come round every now and again, and I'm like, shit, I've been making really weird eye contact with Dan for the last 10 minutes.
As a judge, I don't know where to look. I don't know where to look now.
Looking straight.
I'm like, I'm gonna look away.
And at the same time, you're on stage and still blinded by the light, so you're half looking at them, half like you're half like bonk high, like.
That's funny. So yeah, in terms of the overarching theme of prep, know how much has got to come off, adjust your calories accordingly, so your rate of loss is as much as it needs to be. Usually a more aggressive start is always a good thing. You always want to be ahead.
Allow for more time than you think you're going to need.
Definitely.
To as well.
You're going to need. There's more to come off than you think there is, for sure.
I'm not saying like turn it into a 40-week prep.
No.
You're like, if you're thinking 20, maybe consider 24, 22. Do you know what I mean? Just to for those, those bitty weeks where you're trying to figure things out or something like.
Well, if you've got 20 kilos to come off, you need more than 20 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're going to need 25, 26 weeks probably.
By the way, just talking about like stage presence and stuff like that, did just want to give a little shout out to Danny for winning.
Oh, Danny
Howard for winning his overall at
Danny
PCA
looks
Northwest.
sick. Jack and him did
and he gave classic.
Yes.
And I know me and Danny have had like conversations about this like over the last year, where he's, expressed he's like he feels it's really hard as a classic athlete to outdo bodybuilders in the overall, and I think that's true. Do you know what I mean? And unless you're a standout classic competitor, that can be really challenging when you've got people that properly embody bodybuilding. But I've always said to just go up there and be as classic as you can be. Like, don't try to outsize them. Don't try to just bring classic. And I feel like he did that.
His condition was
peeled.
Yeah, he looked class. Like you say, he presented amazingly. Classical flow, shredded. And he just presents himself as a fucking top competitor, top athlete. Do you know what I mean? He talks things into fruition, but he also backs it up, but he's not arrogant with it.
He's young as well, he's 24.
He's
24.
I think he has a very good understanding of what's needed and stuff like this and where he's at. Like you said, like he got off stage the last time he competed with PCA and didn't get where he wanted to, and he even asked Jode, like, because Jode was on the judging panel, what do I need to do? What are you looking for? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
and
that goes a long way.
Like, Danny obviously trains in our gym. Like, we see him all the time putting the effort in. Like, there's a reason he won that.
Yeah.
And it's not just because of the prep. No. It's the shit he did before it. And this is the difference.
He didn't waver for, 2 years,
and if you're up there saying, like, I want to win a sword, I want to win a pro card in whatever federation, like, you need to fucking show it.
Yeah,
and not just in your prep. 2 years before prep, these people are working towards that, and they're the winners. Yeah. They're the people that are going on with swords, with pro cards. Like, it's not just this, I'll just smash it in prep. Like, you're not going to be good enough.
Yeah, because it gives that I'm going to get into prep and hope I'm good enough vibe. And it's like, no, don't hope. Go into prep knowing.
Starting on the front foot.
That I'm going to be as good as I possibly can.
Because I did everything I could, and I gave myself the time to invest in all the factors that are going to take me up that level. If you just get attached to the prep bit, you've got to get comfortable with just presenting the same year after year after year after year.
That can only change so much.
You can't expect a different outcome.
To me, that is the worst thing. If I ever got on stage looking the same, well, in fact, I did one year, and that was the thing that kicked me up the arse to sort my off seasons out properly. Because I thought I was doing all right in my off season. I was like, I miss 2 meals on one day. I'll have like my off plan meal tonight. That'll make up for it. Little things like that. Over a period of time was like, I weren't hitting all my calories every day and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I got back on stage the next year. I was like, I look the same. This is fucking shit.
I mean, that's okay if you like competing and you don't expect a result. But if you're out here talking about wins and swords and pro cards, you best be nailing everything.
Yeah, you want to look better.
The judges aren't going to give you they gave it 80%.
Regardless of that, like, my motivation for competing is like, I want to see a big improvement because I can't control who wins. Like, but I want to know when I get on stage next that I look like I've actually took this seriously. Yeah. I want to see my efforts because this is the thing, like, you can feel like you're putting a lot of effort in when you're not. Yeah. You're kind of doing 80-90% of the things you need to do, but that 10% is the difference between you really actually making some significant progress. And it's the same in dieting. Like, if you're just like a bit blasé with your portion size and stuff like that, it shows.
And you do see, like, say for example, like, flavor of the month coaches, I'll call them, from that side of things. Their flavor of the month comes from a prep from that side of things, and then when their clients go into off season, which in my eyes is like the most important area as a coach to really be driving that factor. Do you know what I mean? Being like, just making sure everything is going how we want it to, making sure everything is progressing, because we don't want to waste any sort of time in this, because we want to make sure we are coming in completely different to the next time we step on stage. I do see a lot of coaches then sort of take their foot off the gas with their athletes in the off season from that sort of things, and a bit more lax with them and like things, and it's like that's such a wasted bit of time. And it's like, so if you're really not capitalizing on that sort of thing, and it's like, you don't have to be 100%, but you just have to make sure that, like you said, what you are spending your time and attention on is moving the marker, is from that side of things. Focus on what is going to move the needle the most from that side of things, rather than just like feel like you're doing loads but you're not actually doing anything that is actually. And
it's the consistency of it all that matters. Like, that's the real, you don't have to have the perfect training program, you don't even have to have the perfect, you have to take the most drugs, but the consistency of everything is what dictates how much progress you make. So, time for some questions.
Yeah.
a first one. We've got. I hate using this NGL when they send you these fucking stupid questions like from the app. You know,
You can switch them off.
Can you?
Yeah, I'll teach you how.
Like my friends know I like you.
Yeah, no, you can
I've
switch
switched
them
those
off.
Yeah.
Oh, but you need to tell me out. You're my crush. Fuck off.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Nick definitely didn't write that.
Send me any.
You had 2 kids.
Game over.
Yeah.
Thoughts on cookie cutter coaches and how to advise first timers to find the coach for them. Joe, start with that.
So the cookie cutter thing, I know it sounds like a bit, because I don't cookie cutter my plans for my
You
client.
better not.
But what I will say is I do think that people do have a certain expectation that every plan must be completely different to anybody. And it's like, generally speaking, a lot of similar things are going to work with similar people.
course they are,
Do you
yeah.
know what I
Especially
mean?
if you're going for a category as a certain
Yeah.
athlete. Like, how many people have a very similar body shape and
Yeah.
have the very similar weaknesses? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How many people are quad dominant and lack
Yeah.
glutes and hamstrings?
Obviously, you've got to look at the person that you're dealing with and be like, okay, like, what does this person need to be where they want to be? Okay, they need more glute, more delts. They like to eat like this, so I'm going to make their plans to cater for that, of course. But it's like, you're not going to have like 3 bikini athletes all that don't cross over exercises in their training programs or have completely wildly different food preferences, unless obviously, because to be fair, most people highlight that they like the same stuff anyway.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. So I think
Especially
it's
as an athlete, you're going from pretty much the same sort of food sources in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Everyone's eating
Like,
chicken, rice, potato,
Yeah.
oats. Like, we don't all eat that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, your fat
Yeah.
sources are pretty
Yeah.
much consistent. Like, your veggies might vary, but like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean?
So I don't agree with cookie cutter in a sense of every plan is exactly
Well,
the
yeah,
same.
that's what I'm assuming cookie cutter is.
Yeah, it's just no, but I think that some people would look at similar plans
You're right, yeah,
and
well,
be
that's not
like,
the
oh,
case.
like it's cookie cutter. You've just taken that one and tweaked it, and it's like, but
Well, how many exercises are we going to do in the gym? how many like fundamentally good exercises is there? Like,
That's what I mean.
It's not
'Cause
novelty
like,
training,
well,
is it?
especially like
Yeah.
where I've had conversations with like bikini girls or girls that want to bring their lower half, and they're like, well, I don't really like this. I'm like, well, there's not really. We've pretty much put every glute exercise
you've got
within
3
your
sessions a
your
week,
plan.
you know, how many more is there?
I'm going to rotate a slight different.
We might swap reverse lunges for Bulgarians.
Do
or
you
something
know
like
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's only going to be so much, and it's like, as a coach as well, I'm going to have my methodology that what I think works. So, like, say for example, like, I always program antagonistically, so I'm doing this body part, then this body
Yeah,
part. For example, like, so like do some hip glute work, then some quad, then some hip glute work, hamstring work, whatever. So the grand scheme of things, if every one of my girls looked at their lower plan, I guarantee you your Smith glute bridge is going to be exercise 3. So, do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
that's
that
my
might swap with like a back extension.
yeah,
whatever,
that's what I mean. On the other sessions, it's RDL or 45-degree hip extension. So that's exercise 3 because that's where I want, because I'm like, right, okay, we've warmed up the hips, warmed up the hammies, then I'm going to do a main compound movement. Now I want to, what's going to be the most taxing again now?
Yeah.
Do you know what? A Smith glute bridge, by the time you've piled on a lot of weight, so I want that earlier in the session rather than the back end of the session.
Yeah.
So there's going to be stuff like that is always going to sort of follow the same sort of exercise order or something like this.
Yeah.
You might not have that extra quad exercising because you're a bit more quad dominant, so I've thrown in another hammy or glute. But
Of course, they're
Like-
all going to be very similar in that sense because,
Yeah.
like I said, there is only a number of good exercises that we're all going to use. They might be in a different order. There might be small differences where you might swap, like I said, a lunge variation for another lunge variation. Or
I think people get too fixated on what the drafted plan is and not how that coach is coaching the individual, because
that's the biggest
yeah,
thing.
I could have 2 clients that would have the same plan, but depending on how they're presenting themselves to me and how their body is responding, how I'm going to advise them from check-in to check-in is going to be what determines how each person responds. And that is going to be vastly different from person to person. Like the plan doesn't change all that much unless you need to actually make changes. So it's how you're coaching that person. I guess leading on to the second part of that question on how do people find the right coach, I just think you need to have conversations with more than one coach and figure out whether or not you connect with that person. You know, do you want to have conversations with this person? Do you trust that what they're telling you aligns with you? Do you like the results that they've got with other clients, whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally? Because sometimes it's not always about the trophies. It's about what have they done with this person and where have they taken them to? Because there's really good coaches, that are early in their coaching journey that are doing amazing things with their clients that might not be at top level yet because they've started early in their journeys together. But the transformations that you're seeing in those clients are much more impressive than, let's say, coaches at the top that are just passing top competitors round each other that are already at that level. It's just who's going to get them the pro card first. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I know that wasn't any shade, but
No, you're right.
It's kind of like it's
all the shade.
but it's like everyone's looking at this coach got this person that pro card, but how close were they to getting their pro card when they got it? Like, how much of the development work was actually done by that coach, and did it make a difference? Because
I think that's the big thing for the majority of what deems the flavour of what we call flavour of the month coaches is it's all based upon prep, and it's like someone's come to them for that prep, they've got them in, and then it's just like it's gone that way, and they're like, oh, that coach knows it all, and it's like, no, they don't. They haven't worked with them for the last fucking 2 years. Didn't look at any of their off season. It's just they've just dieted them down, and that results. It's like, let's look at this big picture, and it's like, what have they actually done? It's like, we can all get someone in shape, do you know what I mean, from that side of things. And if the grand scheme of things, you're the genetic elite and you're on that cusp of getting a pro card, well, the probability of something happening going in your way, if you're on the cusp, it's like, it's only going to take the right show, and it's gonna happen. And it's like,
there's another thing as well, like I think people forget, like the mind space of the athlete has a massive impact on how well they do. So, for example, I've had, even within the same coach, so I've had clients in the past that have not done really well, they've not been really adherent because their head wasn't in it. They've come back and they've absolutely smashed it.
Yeah.
So it's the client that also has a big impact on that. And likewise, a client can go from another coach to another one and do really well because they're locked in then.
Yeah.
They can be fucking about this coach and then they go to another
believe
coach.
into that other coach.
That can be a factor where they go, right, I really bought into this coach, so I'm going to work. Or it can just be like circumstances. Like the life is a lot calmer. They're in a much better position to lock in. And then everyone goes, oh, that coach did that. And I'm like, well, nah, the client was just actually fucking adherent.
I think it's like, as a athlete, you've got to figure out what you need.
Yeah, 100%.
From someone from that side of things. And it's like, we've had it where these coaches that get these results from taking these athletes that are borderline and then get them the results, and they're like, oh, they're obviously the shit. Go to them, and they go, do you know what? I got no support, no nothing, everything else. And it's like, yeah, because their business model is taking on the cusp pro athletes to pro, so they don't care about what your feelings are, because in the grand scheme of things, if what you want is that pro card, I don't give a fuck what your feelings are. I'm not interested in like how your day's been. I'm not interested. I'm going to tell you what is going to be required for you to get to there. And that can sometimes then ruin the experience for some people. Some people much prefer that. So it's like, you've got to ascertain what you want as an athlete first. Like for me, it's like, I could never be with someone like Cuba or something like this that is just like, this is this.
Militant,
like, I can't even have a discussion with you, shoot my ideas down and then come up with the same idea 6 weeks later, do you know what I mean? Or something like this. It's like, I need to have a rapport with my coach, do you know what I mean? I need to have that from that side of things to get the most out of me. Because if you just start being, I'm just going to be like, oh, fuck you, do you know what I mean?
And that's why the consultation conversation is so important. Like, do you actually get on with that person? Do you see them as the kind of person that you want to do things for? Because it's a team effort at the end of the day. And
speak to their clients as well. That's a massive thing. Like, I think
that's what I always say.
Yeah, it's like, I always say, like, people like this, and I'll go and message any of my guys and girls, go and message 10 of them, get feedback from that sort of things. Because also at the same time, it's like, I got nothing to hide. If you're going to pick up on certain things that you don't like about me from what other my clients might like about me and stuff like this, well, guess what? We're not going to get on. So it's like, I'm not here to accommodate you. I'm not here to be like, oh, I should be really professional in this. It's like, nah, because we're going to have to talk to each other multiple times across the week. I'm going to have to know everything that goes on about you. And it's like, do I want to know that? Have I got any interest? Are you the personality I even want to coach? It's like, and when you're in your earlier years of coaching, everyone takes everyone on because obviously you're trying to build your business. And it's like, when you get a little bit, you have to be a bit more like, this isn't going to work. Do you know what I mean? Like we're gonna clash more than things. So it's like, but then I don't want that to turn into negative on my business. So I'm like, I don't want the business now from that side of things.
Yeah. You got to work with people that you're going to get the best out of, really.
Yeah.
One from Sean, coached by SMB. He signed the NGL with his Instagram there. Has bodybuilders become soft? Josh.
Has bodybuilding what?
Has bodybuilding or bodybuilders become soft?
I don't think it has. I just think like social media just highlights more people's opinions and things like this in a sense. Like I think it's become soft in a sense as that the standards in a sense is getting worse, do you know what I mean, from that side of things. By like say for example, like the Ben Weider this weekend, like it was a pro qualifier, but no one from Europe wanted to come over to compete at the Ben Weider and come over to the UK, even though FIBO had just happened and everyone had just missed out on pro cars. Nobody was interested on taking a quick flight over to London and competing at Ben Weider. Why is that? Do they not deem it as good a standard in the UK? And I feel like that's where like maybe the UK standard, why we keep getting deemed soft, is because we're not like how we used to be. Like British bodybuilding used to be a fucking serious thing. Like when you back in the UK BFF days, you'd have fucking Hollinshead,
hardcore, Dory
James,
Yates.
German. So it's like, so people had one opportunity to do everything they needed to do. So there wasn't really much room for leeway. But when you got more pro qualifiers across the year, more involvement with more people, and social media allows you to hear more people's opinions, because otherwise you never heard what anyone was doing in prep outside of the guy you bumped in at the fucking gym that was doing it, because social media wasn't a thing. He wasn't on his story talking about his stories. Like the one thing I do hate within bodybuilding is the constant like, oh well, if you actually knew this prep was actually gone to shit, and I'm even surprised to even make it to stage. That shit I hate. I'm like, fuck off, don't get on stage then. Like, like if your prep went so bad and you know it went bad, then you're like, but then it's used as an excuse when you don't do very well. Oh well, don't fucking step on stage then. Like that annoys me. It's like when you start coming out with excuses, and I'm just like, you just weren't good enough. I don't care whether this person died, this or that you got ill or do this. Like it's bodybuilding, man. It's so black and white. It's like you're either this or not, and it's like I feel like too many people's feelings are coming into bodybuilding in a sense, in that side of things, that makes us look a bit softer. But I don't necessarily think like the people that are still at the top are still grafting their nut off, doing everything they need to do. I think there's just a bit more of a dispersed from that things, and hearing too many people's opinions and stuff like that.
I just think it's more accessible and trendy now. So I think obviously like back in the day, before it became more popular, it only attracted specialised people that were locked in on that.
Yeah.
It
wasn't glamorous.
Yeah. Well, it just I didn't know that bodybuilding was even. I know it sounds stupid. I did not know that bodybuilding was even a thing until it started popping up on social media. So and where I was from, I was training in a pure gym. I wasn't going to see Nathan Diash's like walking around in my gym. I did bump into anyone that was into that kind of thing, it was probably like, oh, he's a bit weird. That guy over there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that was the anomaly. It wasn't something that you were like, oh, I want to be like that. Particularly as women, it was probably unheard of for women. Yeah. Whereas now it's become more accessible. It's more visible in person and online. So more people want to get involved and give it a go. But not everyone is made for that level, so you do get almost a dilution of it, because you've got the diehards and you've got the people in between, and then you've got the people that are kind of just giving it a go because it looks cool. Yeah. So I think generally it's just more people
softer, isn't it? More so than anything else.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
I definitely think so. Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's bodybuilding. I think
as a whole,
as a human nature, as a human species, we've become a bit like
used to the creature comforts.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We've got no resilience to us. Do you know what I mean? We haven't had a world war for a bit. Like life's too good. Life's too good, isn't it? Like, when you can get Amazon Prime to your house and like work from home, like and
Yeah, for sure.
Like life's good. Isn't
It's
it?
certainly not as challenging as it used to be, is it? Or in certain parts of the world, for example.
It's first world problems. It's like we talk about stuff like Gina, she'll fucking hate me for saying this, but like she like, on a photo shoot prep and stuff like this, and she's on 1900 calories. Bearing in mind she eats 3,500 calories normally, like and stays in really good nick. Now we're going to a photo shoot and we're pushing her to conditions she's never been at. It's dawning on her hard. Do you know what I mean? But it's also like she's like moaning about 900 calories. So it's like I wrote on my stories like I hear Africans are raising money for Gina, starving. Gina. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like you think of it, you put it into perspective, don't you? And it's just like it's like you've chosen to do this.
Yeah.
And I think but I think that's just the way that human nature's going. I don't think anyone's specifically trying to be a bit softer. I think it's just environmentally you're just around it a little bit more, and we're not as hard faced, and we talk about our emotions probably too much in a sense.
It's not as hard as it used to be, that's for sure.
No.
I think like what you said, it's because the door is open to a lot more people now.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be that Dorian Yates type of mindset, because they're few and far between. You know what I mean? And back in like when I started bodybuilding, I went to a gym and it was always owned by a bodybuilder, and it was like, oh, that's that guy that competes. Like no one competed. It's like you get one guy out of a gym that'd do it, and you'd look at me like, well, yeah, I can tell he competes. They look like they do. Whereas now if you go in a gym and they go, they compete, you go like, do they?
Do they? Yeah.
Because it's just because there's a lot more people doing it and they're starting younger, so naturally they're not going to look like that.
Yeah.
And the mentality is different because some people get in it for the wrong reasons now, whereas back in the day it was like, I'm a bodybuilder and that is me. That's all I do. You know, I'll blend up my tuna and rice and drink it, and that's what people used to do. Like no one would do that these days.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of mindset, and you know that's what's going to separate the winners from the losers. Essentially, the people that are willing to do more. Yeah. That's bodybuilding.
The top,
yeah,
the
in
top
a sense,
is still the top, aren't
yeah.
they?
So in the sense that it's gone softer on the whole because more people are doing it, and you know a lot of people are, I'd say, more casual bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine. If you want to do that, sweet. But
and I think I've never got any issues with people like that.
No, same.
It's as long as you don't put the words pro card,
yeah, exactly,
overalls, swords in your mouth. Do you know what I mean? From that side of things.
Yeah.
Like you can't a novice bodybuilding and talk about wanting to be an IFBB pro. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Yeah, you've got to back it up.
Yeah.
So back it up,
I think it's just like you say, it's that snapshot of the bigger picture, and it more so than whether it actually truly has got softer in a sense.
Right, we'll do one more question.
Do we have time?
Oh no, we don't. We'll say that for next time. In 10 minutes. So that wraps that up then. Tune in for the next episode. Follow us on Instagram. Like, subscribe. You know the score.
I was watching the clock.